So welcome to another episode of Paul's Asian Adventure. This is my new mic. Hopefully the sound is much better. Hey, there is a new law that's coming to the Philippines. It's been approved by the Senate, is my understanding. It's a divorce law. And I wanted to talk a bit about that because it can be very dangerous for the foreigners, the expats living in the Philippines. Meaning, if you're allowed to divorce under Filipino law, and I'll go into the definitions and everything a bit later, but she can basically take you for half of everything you have. So if you've worked for 30, 40 years and saved up $400,000 and she decides she wants to get a divorce, that's $200,000 in her pocket. Now, this, of course, going to make it very tempting for some women, not saying all women or even majority of women, some women who are maybe not satisfied in their marriage or looking for something better. As we know, women are hypergamous by nature. So unless they're have a very high moral and deeply in love with you, they could be tempted. I mean, $100,000, $200,000. I mean, that's a gold mine in the Philippines, as we know. So you have to protect yourself. And I'm going to talk a bit about how to protect yourself. Obviously, the most obvious way is before you get married, is get a prenup. Now, better than that is obviously don't get married. Says the guy who is married. But you got to protect yourself with a prenup, really. And now to write a prenup, and before I continue about this, I'm not a lawyer. Haven't studied Filipino law. So this advice is just basically the research I've done, and I take it for what it is. If you are in a situation where you think you need to protect your assets, if you are married or getting married or have a live-in partner or planning to have a live-in partner, I would highly, highly recommend you talk to a good lawyer. There are many crappy lawyers out there. That'll cost you maybe $50, maybe $100, maximum $200 for a consultation. Now, this is very important. This is really important. Don't skip this part. Really, you have to go to a lawyer and talk to them, no matter what situation you're in. If you're thinking of a live-in partner or thinking of getting married or are married. So there. I'm not going to put any links to any lawyers because I used one lawyer in the Philippines and she was really good. But I would recommend that you do your research yourself and then find out about it. In most countries, let me put it that way, it is important that the female has legal representation. So you need to hire a lawyer or give the money to the female to hire a lawyer that she can be represented so that the prenup, postnup, live-in partner agreement doesn't get voided by a judge. The other thing that is good when doing a prenup is that it's recorded on video, so everybody can see that she's not under duress to sign this contract. As I'm talking about prenup, postnup, and live-in partner contracts, I'm just going to call it contract, all the definition just as a contract. So that's also important. So video, that she has her own lawyer to show that she's not under duress. And if you are getting married, try to do the prenup at least 1 month before. If it's a live-in partner, try to do 1 month before so they don't say they felt under duress to sign it to get married. They had time to think about it, they made a choice, and that was their choice. So there are two laws in the Philippines: conjugal property and absolute community. Absolute community is what's valid since August 3rd, 1988. So if you're married after that or planning to get married, that's what is valid. I'm not going to go into the first one, as that is basically before 1988, and if you've been married since 1988, I doubt you're going to get a divorce. But anyway, go to a lawyer and talk to them. But I'm going to just read the definition here. Under absolute community of property section of the code, all properties, whether acquired before, this is important, before or during the marriage, are considered conjugal property according to Philippine law. Hence, any property purchased and or built by a husband when still single is eventually considered conjugal and also owned by his wife upon marriage. So anything of value, it could be cash, jewelry, car, motorbike, home, stocks, REITs, CDs, and so on. all that is considered community property, meaning she owns half of it. Even if she came in with zero and you came in with $10 million, she owns $5 million the day you get married, unless you have a prenup. So if you already are married in the Philippines, you're probably wondering, what do I do now? Well, I've done some research and you can sign a postnuptial. So I would, again, strongly recommend you go talk to a lawyer about a postnuptial, and if he doesn't know how to do that or is not willing to do that, find a different lawyer. And talk to your wife about the postnuptial and what she needs to sign. Find her a lawyer so she can sign it. Now, this law obviously will take time to become law, but the clock is ticking and you need to get it done before that law is in place. And why do I say that? Because once the law is in place, the power dynamics in the relationship changes, right? So then you say, what if she's not willing to sign the postnuptial? Well, I'll tell you what, mate. If she's not willing to sign a postnuptial, it tells you a bit about her. It tells you what she is thinking about. Because if she's in it for you and not the money, well, she'll be more than willing to sign a postnuptial. Because you're the one who spent time, you're the one who's worked all your life, and that money is yours, not hers. So for you guys who have a live-in partner, the laws are already there, but I haven't heard of any cases where a girl has sued for money or anything like that, because it actually costs money to get a lawyer, hire a lawyer, and take it to court, and most women just don't have the resources or don't think about it or whatever, but you still need to protect yourself. Pay the $100, $200. If you're serious about this woman and she's going to be there, the longer she stays with you, living in your house, the more you are at risk. So the length of time she's staying with you, the more you're at risk for things going wrong, and if she decides to sue, that she actually wins. So I made a video about that, like I mentioned earlier. I'll put a link in the description, and Mia, my editor, she'll put a link up here now that you can click on. But better to watch the video to the end and then click the link in the description. Western laws are slowly creeping in, and more you're going to see the same type of behavior in the West as the females in the West happening in the Philippines and in the East. Because as these laws creep in, it'll make it beneficial for women to start claiming things that might not have happened to have a better financial outcome. So all I can say is be careful out there. Make sure you have your assets protected through a prenuptial, a postnuptial. If you have a live-in partner, get your assets protected. And you have no assets, well, skip this video. But we all moved to the Philippines. We have something, right? We have some people more than others. But yeah, so with that, I'm worried about what's happening in the Philippines with this divorce law. I know some people think it's a good thing, so people can get divorced. I personally don't think it's a good thing, because it's just the start. Once this divorce law gets into law, the next will be no-fault divorce. You're going to see couples start going to court over assets. Filipinos getting married, short-term marriages to a foreigner, a gullible foreigner without a prenup, taking half his assets. I mean, we already see it in people building homes for Filipinos, because the laws are skewed where you as a foreigner can't own land, and once the house is built, a small minority, 5 or 10%, leave and get the house. So we've seen this when it comes to house, because the laws are skewed into the woman's favor, and the same is going to happen with marriage. So again, you got to protect yourself. And of course, the best way to protect yourself is don't get married. And I am married, so that's kind of hypocritical of me to say, but you got to protect your assets with a prenup, a postnup, or a live-in partner contract. So with that, I think I'm going to wrap it up and say be careful out there. The laws are changing, and you don't want to think to yourself, oh, this is not going to happen to me. It happens to many people, just like people building homes thinking, I'm not going to lose that house. There's always a chance. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up and say Thank you for watching to the end. And if you haven't subscribed, as something like 70% of people who watch this video haven't, please go ahead and subscribe. More good video, more good content coming. And I'll see you on the next one.